Alright, in this tutorial we are going to learn how to change out the filament in our machine. So right now we have white filament in here, and we are going to change that out to make it red filament. So of course the first, and we can kind of leave actually this door aside because we're not going to need it for a minute. First thing we want to do is turn on the machine. So the power button is right down here by the plug. And we're going to turn on our machine and it's going to get warmed up. And now we are going to go to filament. We're going to press filament and we're going to go to change. Now if I was loading brand new filament and it didn't have a roll in, I'd just go to load. But it already has a roll in, so we're going to go to change. And it's going to heat the extruder. So the extruder is the little needle. It's going to heat that so that it can go ahead and extract. This filament that's already in here is probably dry and hard, and it needs to heat it up so that it can extract it out of the nozzle. So right now it's just going to tell us that it's heating the extruder until it gets to that 235 degrees Celsius. Now it's saying it's unloading the filament. So if you look around to the side, you'll actually see that the filament is kind of unwinding, and I like to kind of just roll it as I go, but it's spitting that filament out of the machine, and there it goes. There's the last bit. So now I can pull out my filament that was in there and set it aside, and I have empty filament. So it still says unloading. Now it says pull out filament, feed new filament, press OK. So we've got to get our new filament out. So I've got my filament roll here. I want to make sure the end is coming from underneath. So rather than having it face down, it's coming from underneath, and I'm going to load this into my thing. Now you might notice this particular type of filament does not fit correctly in my wheel. So I'm going to have to use my external wheel. So I'll show you what that looks like. So the metal end goes through there, and now this just sits on this wheel. That's okay. It's going to be external from my machine rather than being closed into here. It really makes no difference. So what that means is I don't need this door right now. I can set it aside, and I can kind of set my roll in a place where it's going to be unheated by anything, not able to get tangled up in anything. And then I'm going to put the end of this into this yellow arrow. So I'm feeding the end of it into this arrow. And then I'm going to hit OK. And it's going to start pulling this filament up. I've added some distance from my wheel to the machine just so that the filament doesn't get kind of tangled up as it's being pulled through. If it's too close to the machine and it doesn't have like enough tension, sometimes it gets tangled up as it feeds through. Now you'll begin to see the red being fed through this tube, and it's going to go all the way down until it comes out the needle. You can see the needle's already getting rid of the white filament. So eventually this is going to run red, and when it does that, we're going to press OK because the new color is appearing, and that means the old filament is all washed out of the machine. So we're just waiting for this. It's hard to tell, but this wheel is slowly moving as it loads new filament into the machine. And it's feeding through that tube, so we've made it about halfway. Starting to get very close to the end there, in which case we'll probably see this white filament start to very quickly spout out and be replaced by red. So let's see what happens here in the next couple seconds. Here we go. So our white is beginning to spout out, and when we get our nice pure red color, I like to let it go till it's pretty pure, and then we can go ahead and press OK. And now our filament is changed. So now we're just going to pull off the excess filament, being very careful not to touch that extruder because it is very hot. It's 235 degrees Celsius, and this is our little extra bit that we can just throw away. And now we're ready to print in red.